vacancy in the state Senate, a race with implications for the balance of power in a battleground state. A late snowstorm could be Denver's biggest of the season.
Residents in Colorado and Wyoming bringing out the snow blowers, experiencing a late spring storm. National Weather Service meteorologist Zach Hyras in Boulder.
This one certainly turns some heads when you start talking about the snowfall amounts we have in the forecast.
Some higher elevations in the mountain could get up to 2 feet of snow, much less in lower elevations like Denver, and then some places just rain.
For most seasoned Coloradans, we kind of know that there's quite a bit of change here as you go through April and May.
All that snow and rain could help drought conditions. I'm Julie Walker.
On Wall Street, the Dow up by 356 points. Today, the Nasdaq rose 258. The S&P 500 advanced 58, and oil was near $103 a barrel. More at townhall.com.
The following is not an actor, but a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
Hi, my name's Neil. I have some advice for you if you've been trying to break free from credit card debt. You can start by doing what I did. Get your bills together and call Trinity Debt Management. Trinity is dedicated to helping people like me become debt-free. When I called, my first experience was a feeling of relief. My counselor was kind, and best of all, she didn't judge me. In just a few minutes, she helped me figure out a plan that consolidated all my bills into one lower monthly payment. This substantially reduced my high interest rates and put me on the road to success. In the end, I saved thousands in interest, and today my credit card debt is a thing of the past.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976.
My name is Neil. Take it from someone who's been there. Call Trinity and become debt-free for keeps.
1-800-990-6976.
Heavy criticism from Zambia about a $1 billion deal between Zambia and the United States.
Zambia has accused the U.S. of linking a $2 billion health assistance deal to access to its rich mineral resources. The U.S. aims to reshape aid to Africa into transactional agreements while challenging China's influence. The deal with Zambia is one of dozens the Trump administration is pursuing in some of the world's most AIDS-dependent countries. However, talks have stalled in Zambia over U.S. demands for data sharing and preferential treatment for U.S. companies. I'm Karen Shemas.
Boko Haram militants have killed 23 soldiers in an attack on a military post in the Lake Chad region, Chad's armed forces said Tuesday. The attack happened Monday night on Barka Tolaram Island. News and analysis at townhall.com. From Washington, I'm Keith Peters.
This program is brought to you in part by Ability Tree Experts. Ability Tree Experts, Houston's leading tree care professionals.
Call 281-441-4179.
Now more than ever, Texas energy security is national security. That's why Governor Greg Abbott has endorsed Jim Wright's re-election to Railroad Commissioner. Jim Wright understands how important Texas energy is to make sure we keep America first. Jim Wright is focused on making sure hostile foreign nations can never have direct ownership or indirect influence on Texas energy. And he's not stopping there. Jim Wright will keep radical militant Islamists out of Texas energy, protecting our infrastructure and our future. Look at Jim Wright's results. Record oil revenues topping $6 billion, fueling our economy and supporting record state surpluses. Jim Wright knows energy independence is national security, keeping Texas strong and America secure. He'll always stand firm for Texas. Jim Wright, protecting Texas energy, securing America's future. Re-elect Jim Wright for Railroad Commissioner. Election Day is May 26th. Political ad paid for by Texas Now PAC.
Dan Patrick for my friend Louis Flory and Ability Tree Experts.
Spring is here and summer just around the corner, which means it's time to deep root fertilize your trees in addition to spraying for insects and disease. Let Ability Trees help maintain their value and repair all damage. Fed and pruned tree will be less susceptible to wind damage and uprooting. caring for the beautiful and valuable trees on your property that you can replace should be done by experts. And the experts I use, it's very clear. It's Ability Tree Experts and Louis Flory, my friend for over 40 years. Gosh, this guy is the pro when it comes to taking care of trees. You know, pruning is important for the health of your trees, and pruning limits resistance to spring storms and allows the sun and fresh air into the canopy. Trees can be in distress several months without showing any signs, so don't wait to protect your investment at 281-441-4179, 281-441-4179, or visit their website at abilitytrees.com. Right now, Ability Trees is giving a deep root feeding with every tree prune. Ability Trees, Houston's leading tree care professional.
Where should I begin?
Can we talk about this?
Say, what are you trying to say?
Beyond the usual controversial talk.
Blah, 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 on and on and on. Over there.
1, 2, cha-cha-cha. 1, 2, cha-cha-cha.
Prepare yourself for Craig.
Okay.
Preparing a mighty new spectacle here.
Articulate, stimulating, hit you right in the... there you go.
We start becoming a team right now.
This is the Craig Collins Show.
Lord Jesus. Oh, God, no.
Start talking. Talk fast.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
Now your host.
He's a good man.
Craig.
Oh, yeah. It's the Craig Collins Show, KSEV, KGBC. I didn't want to not yell. I like yelling when I start this show, probably partially because it gets out all the anger for any sort of political crap that's out there. Some political stories I like quite a bit. Some political ones I hate. And actually, I was talking to somebody last night about how much fatigue a lot of people might have when it comes to several of the topics that get talked about all the time in news media, in political news media. And so there's a weird, I'm just telling you this right at the beginning, there's a weird push-pull when you do what people like me do for a living, where you decide how much you talk about this stuff and how much you don't talk about this sort of thing. And I don't think anyone ever thinks you're right, no matter what you do. I don't think any of the pundits, any of the people who do the market research, or the individuals who are the consultants, I don't think they ever think you're doing it right, which I love that part. Because if you do too much news, like, it's too much. If you don't do enough, what happened to the news? That kind of thing. So we'll see how we go. But I did think it was an interesting conversation, and I bet a lot of people out there feel the same way. And actually, if you want to call in and tell me on this show that you feel the same way, that you're sick of news, be my guest. Go ahead and tell me, and we can talk about something else. Well, I also still talk about the news. All right, I want to get right to something that I thought was really interesting. Both Marco Rubio today, and then Pete Hegseth, the Department of War Secretary, yesterday, as Pags always jokes, both had conversations about Iran. I thought there was a lot of really interesting audio in all of this. So let's go ahead and hit play on the first thing here. Let's actually make sure you can hear it.
Parties who claim the blockade is an act of war. What do you say to that? And my second question has to do with the fuel embargo of Cuba. How long, Mr. Secretary, will that last?
Okay, two things. All right, good. I'll answer both your questions because I like the second one too. The first one on the blockade. And so why do we have a blockade? We have a blockade because they shut down the straits. So I don't know which members of Congress you're talking to, but here's what I would ask them. I would ask everybody here. It's very simple. These guys have shut down the Straits of Hormuz. This is what Iran is saying. We will shut down the straits. No one can go through. No country in the world can go through unless we allow you to go through, and you have to pay us. But our ships can go through, meaning the Iranian ships, as much as they want. That's crazy. Who would agree to that? So how are we going to have a situation where they get to close the straits to everybody, and the only people who are allowed to go through there 100% without paying anything are the Iranians? If you do that, they'll keep the straits closed forever. They're trying to make this some new normal. Okay, under no circumstances can we ever allow them to normalize the fact that they get to blow up commercial ships.
Amen.
And put mines in the water.
Yes.
So the response to that is we're going to blockade your ships.
Good.
If everyone's ships are not getting out, your ships are not getting out either.
Right.
That's not an act of war. That's a defensive measure. It's a counter to what they have decided to do.
Yeah, I love everything about that comment that he made and that conversation. And I'm still a supporter of the ongoing conflict with Iran because Iran, however people want to say it, because I do think that by and large, at the end of all of this, we will actually get what we want. I do still believe that. They've pushed and pulled and said all kinds of stuff that they are going to do or aren't going to do as far as the Iranian regime goes. And a whole lot of people who used to be in charge of that country are dead. So it's a lot of new people that are popping in and being like, we don't know if we're going to say yes or no to this. And inevitably, I think that we'll get what we want. It just might take a while. And I do disagree with anyone that thinks that the plan of attack right now is bad, because I think the plan of attack is just fine. We're giving Iran the realization that they have no cards, even though they keep pretending as though to themselves that they have some cards. But we're giving them the slow realization that they don't, without the attack on Trump that existed before, when people said that if he was going to bomb them back to the Stone Ages or destroy the infrastructure of the country, that would have been horrible and terrible and a war crime. That is not a narrative right now. And so I think that, unfortunately, when you choose to take action with Iran, the thing you can't do is just stop, which is what we've seen other presidents do when they don't like the optics of something. They just stop, or they just leave it off to the side, I guess. I don't think we're doing any of that. I don't think it's anywhere near the failed exit in Afghanistan, which a lot of people seem to think is inevitably how this thing ends. I don't agree with that. I don't believe that. I do not think it will end that poorly for us, especially with the way we're doing it. I don't want to pay high gas prices. That's absolutely true. But the Strait of Hormuz being open means the gas prices could be totally different, and the price of oil is already going down. So this actually matters quite a bit to me as well. I think we have some more audio of Marco Rubio talking a little bit about, the nuclear capabilities of the country. He did also mention the Strait of Hormuz and how it is wide open, how things are going real great, and how we're doing well. There was more than just the audio I played so far as sort of some answers to questions and things there. But let's go ahead and play this. His talking about the nuclear-armed Iran and how much hell they would be for the rest of the world and not just the United States.
Think about it this way. Everybody needs to think about it this way. If Iran had a nuclear weapon and they decided to close the straits and make our gas prices like $9 a gallon or $8 a gallon, we wouldn't be able to do anything about it because they have a nuclear weapon. And a nuclear-armed Iran could do whatever the hell they want with the straits, and there's nothing anyone would be able to do about it. And that's one of the many reasons, apart from like the massive loss of life in a nuclear strike, why Iran can never have a nuclear weapon. I mean, so this is an example of, if they had a nuclear weapon, they closed the straits and they would tell the world, what are you going to do about it? We have a nuclear weapon. We can attack you with it. That's the world none of us want to leave behind. It won't happen under this president's watch.
Yeah, no, it won't happen during Trump's watch. And again, it is actually the most terrifying thought you could possibly do in a thought exercise. What if someone was lazy enough, not paying attention enough, to actually allow Iran to acquire a nuclear weapon? Then what does the world look like? That alone makes the entirety of what's happened so far make sense to a lot of people, myself included. All right, one last piece of audio on this, and then I'll move on to other stuff. This is Pete Hegseth, as I said, talking about some of the military operation, the Secretary of War. Even though C-SPAN refuses that title, I thought this was funny. And if you're watching on YouTube or X or any of the platforms where we live stream, you will see Defense Secretary still under Pete Hegseth's name. That's not what that department's called anymore. It's the Department of War. But if you're checking us out on KSEV Radio, on YouTube and Rumble, or my Radio Craig C page, at Radio Craig C on X and Facebook, although not Facebook today, Facebook only on Fridays, you can see some of this stuff. Let's go ahead and hit play on the Secretary of War's comments to media yesterday.
America is using its strength to lift up others. Iran is trying to subjugate the world. To what remains of Iran's forces, if you attack American troops or innocent commercial shipping, you will face overwhelming and devastating American firepower.
Bad things will happen.
The President has been very clear about this. We prefer this to be a peaceful operation, but are locked and loaded to defend our people, our ships, our aircraft, and this mission without hesitation.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. If we do have to start firing weapons again, we'll do it. Does Iran care about ceasefires? No, they don't care about ceasefires. They do whatever they want. And so at some point, that probably will be a reality that we'll have to take more action than we've taken so far. But if after everything, Iran has no system to gain a nuclear weapon, no uranium enrichment process or program that helps them get there, if the Strait of Hormuz is wide open and the U.S. has some level of benefit, or maybe not all that much level of benefit, over helping Iran operate it, and if a few other things go our way, which actually I think it's just those two. I don't need the other things that have been talked about to be the same for us. Our oil trade is doing fine. But nonetheless, when all of this happens, I think you have a lot of people who have to turn and say, this did work out. I didn't like it. I didn't like the timing of it. that it was happening during a midterm election, but I guess I agree that we needed to do it. And one of those people who actually says that is Bill Maher. I was going to hold this audio to the end, but I'll just play it now. It's from a podcast he did, and I just think that every so often, if you can cherry pick out the Democrat, the liberal, the crazy person on the other side, and hear them say something rational, that it might speak to somebody out there, especially the left-leaning people who might listen to shows like this and think everything I say is crap and everything other people say is crap, and probably also now think everything that Bill Maher says is crap. I don't care. I like doing this occasionally to show that someone can have some sense of reason on at least an individual topic on the left. And Maher is better than most at doing that, and actually he even talks about that in this clip. But there are others who, depending on the topic, occasionally will say things that seem more common sense and less about political party.
I mean, you cannot bribe me and you cannot incentivize me. Trump, I mean, I was his most virulent critic, had dinner with him, told everybody that, he's very different in person and he's not as crazy as he seems, but kept right on criticizing where I thought, and then he got mad at me again, and now he's pulled other stuff, but I still supported the idea of going into Iran. Not that we want to get into that, but just to the point of, like, you cannot bribe me or incentivize me. While he was attacking me, I was saying, no, I'm one of the few liberals who thinks, yeah, we needed to do this with Iran. And this is with every subject. And it's very, very liberating. Mm-hmm. It's so liberating not to have to check what your opinion is supposed to be.
Okay. I love that thing he said at the end. And I think that for a lot of liberal people, it's 100% about Trump. That if you're a Democratic politician, even more so, but if you're mainstream media outlets, if you're anybody walking around on the street here in Houston, Texas, that is sadly very, very liberal, I think the first thing you're always contemplating in your brain is, what is my position that is anti-Trump on this thing? And then you check with other people. You check with the team. That would be the hive mind crap that comes up with all the talking points that's out there in the world. And you check with them, and then you go, okay, these are my opinions. These are the things I'm supposed to think to make sure that I stay on the same side. I love hearing someone like Maher say it's liberating to not care what the opinion is, quote, supposed to be, which is such a great way to say that. And I'll say this, too, about this industry that I'm in. A lot of the time, there will be conversations where you'll have with people. Oftentimes, I have them with producers, especially on some of the other fill-in work that I do, the fancy stuff that I don't mean to brag about all the time. It's just a cool thing. I'm going to be in for Dana Lash again in a couple days for 2 days. I think it's the 8th, so it's Friday of this week, and then the 11th, a Monday of next week. But nonetheless, you'll have these conversations with people where you say some things about what mainstream positions are, what the mainstream position on the right is or the left is. And I love people like Dana Lash who often respond to that with, I don't care. They don't care at all. It's not her producer, by the way. Kane would never do that. But there are people who will say things like, this is what mainstream reactions to this topic are. And there are people in this industry, and I've learned from a lot of great ones, including her, that you should never care. Mark Strauss, the guy we had on the show yesterday, is another person that has often told me the mainstream media narrative doesn't matter. It's not like I care about it myself. I do tell you whatever my real opinions are, but occasionally you walk away from a show and you're like, man, I wonder if I push too hard over here or challenge the audience too much over there. And these are the people who say you can't do that. Because here's what's so great about being a conservative media personality compared to being a liberal media moron, which is, I think, what I'll call it, is in our world, the expectation of you, the listener, you, the audience, is that you accept difference of opinion, is that you're fine with that. You're cool with that. You're totally okay with occasionally me saying something you disagree with. Compared to the other side, a difference of opinion is fostered a lot more on the conservative side of the aisle than the other side, so it makes it a much more rewarding gig. I can't fathom what it would be like to be a liberal idiot that has to say liberal things all the time, like a Maher, who then gets attacked by some of his audience when he says the wrong thing occasionally. All right, I think I should take a break, but I'm not going to do it yet. We're going to do a couple other quick things. I thought this was really interesting. Jackie Heinrich at Fox did an interview about $1 billion in Secret Service funding and how it can be used to fund some other things. This is the intelligence sometimes of the political machine, or at least certain politicians, the Trump administration. I can give them credit. To add some funding here and then know that you're going to wiggle some of it over here, because right now the Democrats are trying to prevent spending in certain areas, and you don't care. You're doing it anyway. One of those may, in fact, be the ballroom at the White House. Here we go.
Jackie, Senate Republicans unveiled their reconciliation proposal to fund ICE and Border Patrol, but there was also this $1 billion line in there that took some members by surprise.
Yeah, Brett, Senate Democrats pounced on this. According to the bill text, the $1 billion in Secret Service funding would go towards security measures for the new ballroom, both above ground and below ground. The White House has defended this project many times, saying it is funded by donations, not taxpayer dollars. But a White House statement now says that Congress recognizes the need for the ballroom after recent attempts on the president's life. They also reportedly argue that the legislation would authorize the entire project after construction was halted when a judge cited lack of congressional approval.
Look, here's what I think about this. I wanted the original version of what they told us to be true, that we wouldn't be spending a lot of taxpayer dollars on a ballroom or anything like it. But a third attempt at the president's life, and not just that, all of the different ways that Democrats were trying to break apart, obscure, obfuscate, do whatever they could. I think that's the word I was looking for a second ago. But prevent any version of discussion about this, any version of funding of this, anything at all. They were putting every egg they could in the basket of the White House was destroyed. It's terrible that a president did something to it, even though a ton of other presidents have adjusted the White House before. There have been construction projects on that exact building. And then even more so, we can't build a secure White House ballroom because Trump's in office, even though I guarantee you, if Democrats got what they wanted, which I don't think they will, and prevent this ballroom long enough for a Democrat to be in office, they'll go ahead and complete it then. And then they'll make sure to name it after whoever the Democratic politician is. It's awesome if it would take them 2 J.D. Vance terms, maybe some Marco Rubio terms before they even get there. We'll see who winds up being in the White House next. But I'm sure that's the Democratic playbook, is hoping that they get the power and then they'll do the thing that they know we actually need. All right, I have to take a break. There's a lot to talk about today on the show. There was a really, really fascinating thing that happened in another podcast. This is actually the Sean Hannity podcast. He had on Kash Patel, and they were talking about something that obviously matters in the world in which we live, and is a pretty obvious demonstration of the exact separation from Democrat, Republican politicians, people in our society. It was the Nancy Guthrie story, and how much the family of Nancy Guthrie, including Savannah, of course, didn't want to work with the FBI and, by extension, the Trump administration, when they could have and eventually did help, even though this wound up being an unsolved thing. Very sad that it is what it is. But the prevention of having the FBI be involved in it, because the FBI is tied to Trump right now and Kash Patel is in charge, probably really, really hurt the investigation. And I thought it was a really interesting conversation between Hannity and Patel that dove deeper into that. So we'll play that audio when we come back. It's the Craig Collins Show, KSEV, KGBC, the voice of Texas.
If you have roof problems, you can sure see them when it rains. This is Deb Tejada from Tejas Roofing. If you see a leak, call me immediately, 281-251-0304. I'll send over the Tejas Roof Repair truck.
That truck has everything our experienced crew needs to fix your roof, right then and there.
The Tejas Roofing crew has been working together fixing leaky roofs for 15 years.
It's not a pretty truck, but it has everything we need to get the job done. I kind of like the way it looks.
Most roofing repairs cost less than $500. Why? Because we find the cause of the leak and repair that leak. We won't try to sell you services you don't need.
And we'll fix it right away because everything we need is in our truck.
Don't put off fixing a leaky roof. Call me at Tejas Roofing and I'll send over the truck. 281-251-0304. When you think of roofing repairs or a new roof, think Tejas Roofing, your Houston roofing company. 281-251-0304. That's Tejas Roofing, 281-251-0304.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm, and Chuck McDowell definitely not an attorney.
This is Chuck. If someone talked you into buying something really silly and you want to get out of that silly little thing, my advice, get the facts. Call me and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit absolutely free. Inside, you'll learn how timeshare works and all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free exit information kit. 800-909-9696. 800-909-9696.
A breast cancer diagnosis can turn your world upside down. But your Houston Methodist team assures you they'll use the latest cancer research and technologies, collaborating to treat and remove the tumor and reconstruct your breasts, restoring symmetry, sensation, and your sense of self. That's the difference between practicing medicine and leading it for you. Houston Methodist, leading medicine.
Plumbing emergencies never happen at a convenient time. Usually they happen on the weekends, holidays, or while you're away on vacation. I'm Richard Sod, president of Nick's Plumbing. When you find yourself facing a plumbing emergency, call the licensed and experienced professionals at Nick's Plumbing and Sewer Services. Nick's Plumbing has been Houston's first choice for all your plumbing needs since 1979. Our experts can take your most difficult plumbing issues and fix them fast, fix them right, and usually for less than you'd expect. Nick's Plumbing and Sewer Services is the right choice for any plumbing job, from a leaky faucet, whole house repipe, or a complete sewer line replacement. You can count on Nick's Plumbing to do the job right. With over 40 years in business and over 150,000 satisfied customers, Nick's wants to be your plumbing company. Nick's Plumbing offers free estimates and free second opinions. Call Nick's Plumbing and Sewer Services, 713-868-9907, or visit us on the web, nicksplumbing.com.
NPL 38548.
Call Nick's Plumbing today. We're on the way.
In the Nancy Guthrie case, I got frustrated because I knew from my sources they were trying to keep you guys out.
They did.
They did keep you out.
And look, here's how
time matters in an investigation.
The first 48 hours of anyone's disappearance are the most critical.
Yeah, they are.
And here's how these cases works. It is a state matter. It's a state and local law enforcement matter. What we, the FBI, do is say, hey, we're here to help. What do you need? What can we do? And for 4 days, we were kept out of the investigation. And when we were finally let in, Sean, look what we did. We went in and got the Ring doorbell. And we said, hey, is anyone talking to Google? I called the leadership at Google and I said, look, we know that there was not a subscription service to capture all of the data that would have been captured had there been a subscription service. But can we go into the cache? Can we go into the data before it's deleted and see what we can find? That's why you have that image, because the FBI worked with Google to put that image out.
And that's crazy, by the way. It's the Craig Collins Show, KSEV, KGBC, the Voice of Texas. Kash Patel telling Sean Hannity that the biggest break in the Nancy Guthrie case, which sadly didn't result in the solving of the case, the image, the video from a Ring doorbell or a Google doorbell of some kind, like all of that stuff, all of it came from the FBI. And so the two things jumped out to me in this part of the story, and I have some more audio from this I'm going to play in a second. The first one is the arrogance of people. There are a lot of people out there. Savannah Guthrie, I still feel terrible for her, horrible for her and her family. So I'm not trying to attack her individually in saying this. But there are a lot of people who would believe that they don't need help from anybody in a whole myriad of things, especially if there's some political motivation to not ask for it. But there's a lot of people out there. I know a lot of people who consider themselves very intelligent, very, proud people, probably go home at night, pat themselves on the back for anything good they do. And look, there's going to be some areas where these people are, in fact, experts, where they are great at the things they think they're great at. But when you don't know what your blind spots are, you hurt yourself all the time. And I think the Guthrie family believed, maybe because of the high-profile position of one of the people that's a part of that family, that the FBI couldn't help them. That they're like, no, politically and or otherwise, we don't need any assistance from anyone. We can do this on their own. And you're wrong. There's a tremendous amount of people, again, out there who are constantly wrong about what their blind spots are or are not, and they deny them. And they actually get mad at you, in this case, get mad at the FBI for begging to help and saying, we can do more, we can help more. There's ways we can have access or talk to certain organizations and get things you're not going to get. Let us in this door, because being in this door will make it better for everyone. Don't try to close this door in our face Here's a little bit more of this
Maybe
conversation.
gotten more data had we been letting earlier.
Why wouldn't they want your help? Why did they send the DNA to a lab in Florida, not Quantico?
That's the other thing that you hit on, right? Again, we were saying we'll process it. I launched hundreds of agents and intel staff to Phoenix and Tucson just for this case, just to be on standby.
And they didn't want
just
you
to
there.
do the canvassing. And we said, we'll take the DNA. And again, it's a state and local matter. So it's their call on where to send the DNA. We have Quantico, best lab in the world. I had a fixed wing aircraft on the ground ready to move it immediately through the night.
Did they just say no?
And they said, we're sending it to Florida. And then, I don't know,
They have
60
jurisdiction.
days. They have jurisdiction, so it's their call. So
Bad call.
Well, that's for the American public to decide. And what we can do is continue to offer support.
Yeah, bad call. I'll go ahead and say it. I'll echo what Sean Hannity said. Here's the other thing I keep thinking about this. Sometimes when people evaluate the quote-unquote enemy, and in this case, I think the Guthrie family, somebody in there, maybe a few people in there, thought that the FBI was more enemy than friend. And I think mostly, again, this is politically motivated. A lot in our society. I've seen it in workplaces I've been in and other people have been in before where there's weird infighting and weird things that happen, and some of it's politically motivated. You find out that some crazy left-leaning person has an important job at a place, and they're mad that you're a right-leaning person or fairly right person on the radio, whatever I guess people would say about me. But there's a ton of examples of this sort of thing, and I think what you need to realize in those moments, some people do, and I wish the Guthrie family had realized, is sometimes there are no enemies, at least not the enemies in the places you think they are. The person who kidnapped her mother, obviously an enemy and a horrible person. But sometimes there's people that are also trying to lift the ship. And lifting one boat might lift all the other boats, et cetera, et cetera. And it just makes no sense for these things to act the way that they do. And I think that it is arrogance and pride that play a huge role, and political motivation, as I said before, in how people act these ways. And how the Guthrie family would say, we just don't need the help of anybody else. We'll figure this all out on our own. We'll do it all by ourselves. And at the end of the day, this is not the kind of thing you're trying to say in a like we told you so sort of manner. But the horrible end result of trying for a while to handle stuff on your own without the ability to handle it is you failed. You didn't get what you wanted. You didn't get as quickly to the places you could have gotten to, because you put obstacles and barriers in the way that you shouldn't have put there, that were stupid of you to put there, that came from a place that had nothing to do with solving the problem. This is the last thing I'll say. I know I'm ranting about this a little bit. I just find it so interesting. I think the best way to evaluate anything, and I'm not really preaching to this audience. By and large, I'm going to assume a lot of people listening actually do all this. It really feels like you need to sit down a lot of people on the other side and tell them this. But if you evaluate the problem, don't think about any of the solutions. Just look at the problem itself and then think about why someone would be motivated to solve or prevent you from solving the problem. You get yourself a lot further into knowing who the good guys are and who the bad guys are. We're seeing this in the world of our elections, in the world of, say, John Cornyn and Ken Paxton. You know who will actually solve the problems the way you want them solved and who won't. Who will fail you in that last moment. And that, it matters so much. Paxton, of course, being the problem solver. John Cornyn being the guy who will do terrible things for Democrats whenever he seems to feel it's necessary for him to do it. Occasionally, but way too much, in the opinion of myself and a lot of people who are part of this state. And I've only been here a little while, and you can already see the ridiculousness of that. But that's the right way forward. Evaluate the problem first. Then figure out whatever the motivation might be of the people who are making the problem worse or better, or the people you're trying to lock outside, not let them in the door. Look at them as they wave through the window and say you're not coming in. And again, think about why they would be motivated to hurt you or help you. The FBI had no reason to harm the Guthrie investigation. None whatsoever. Didn't matter. They tried to keep them on the outside looking in for as long as they could, even as Patel also points out, kind of illegal. Really. They had jurisdiction over this investigation and how to do it, so they probably should have been more involved right away. All right, I do want to play one last thing. I do think this is interesting. More than a dozen officers from the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department have been placed on administrative leave following an internal affairs investigation into an alleged manipulation of crime statistics. This was a thing we knew. What's so funny about this, and I'll play a little bit of audio from Fox News to further justify the story, is President Trump says, I'm going to make D.C. safer. I'm going to use the National Guard to do it. So I'm going to ask a whole lot of people that are doing something else to secure the most important place in our country. I'm sure somebody can debate that, but it is. So we're going to use this additional force to secure it. We can't do this in states because the states can say no to us and act all crazy. But at the end of the day, it's an aligned goal. It's a simplistic goal, and everybody would want it. Everybody in D.C., everybody in America, safer places to live. And they fought it. And one of the biggest ways they fought it is by saying it wasn't necessary. Even though you knew D.C. was dangerous, a whole lot of parts of it were horrible, they were claiming they weren't so bad. Well, this was the accusation, that they were hiding a whole bunch of data that would have proved how necessary it was for this organization, for these people to be involved. And then, lo and behold, we find out that some people admit, yeah, we were manipulating that data.
13 members of the Washington, D.C. Police Department are on administrative leave tonight after an internal affairs investigation into the alleged manipulation of crime statistics. Washington Post reporting they are facing termination. The district police union is welcoming that decision, saying the move marks a long overdue step toward justice and the restoration of integrity within the department.
Yeah, I think that very often if you try at the tail end of something, to tell us that bad stuff isn't happening when we know bad stuff is happening, that it's overdue justice to kick these people out of these positions. And honestly, the last thing I'll say about this, and then I got to take one more break, and we will do a quick 4-ish segment. Those are lighter topics. I do 4 or so of them, and I do it because, as I said to open the show, I agree that there probably is both news and political fatigue. And also some of the places I work, they do this, and I just steal it. But it's lighter-hearted stuff. It's more fun stuff. I call them palate cleansers. We'll get to that in a bit. But the last thing I'll say about this, and I'm a fierce defender of the police. You will notice that if you listen to the show, that I'm a huge advocate for our military and a huge advocate for our police because, by and large, they do a great freaking job, a hard job, and they constantly get attacked by media and by, the left and the machines of the left to say and do all kinds of things that make it harder for these people to do their jobs. But if somebody does something wrong, I think cops are as likely as anyone else to be at the forefront of saying how bad it is, how wrong it is, how it needs to be stopped. They're not usually the people ducking and hiding those conversations. I don't think we any longer have the denial part of the thing that people claimed existed, the blue wall. I don't think that's real anymore for people that know bad things when they see them, and hiding statistics, crime statistics, to make D.C. look safer than it was. That's a uniquely bad thing. So I hope people are out of jobs, and I hope more of those kind of corruption things, whatever they might be, fraud in the world of, what was going on in Minnesota with healthcare and daycare facilities, or California or Indiana now, anywhere. We're outing all this stuff to the benefit of our society, to the benefit of you and me, and our bottom lines, and the amount of taxes that we hopefully don't pay in the future. And as Mark Strauss and I were talking about yesterday, hopefully we pay absolutely no taxes, because of what was the way that the United States made money for a very long time, things like tariffs, and not the Internal Revenue Service that takes money from me and you, that steals it, is something we go back to. We go back to letting the External Revenue Service collect funds for the country, and you and I give them nothing, because that sounds way better to me. All right, quick break, a lot more. It's the Craig Collins Show, KSEV, KGBC, the voice of Texas.
Where we go in life matters, and what we do matters, and we know that taking the wrong road won't produce the best outcomes. Hi, I'm Kathy with Baker Mortgage, and we want you to take the right path when it comes to your mortgage. We live in a world of information overload, but always consider the source. And these are not generally going to be from your big bank or a random offer that comes across your screen. Remember, you're always going to get a better deal on one that you go looking for than one that comes looking for you. You need to deal with somebody who gives a you-know-what, whether or not you're happy in the end. At Baker Mortgage, we do it right. We haven't been around for 68 years because we're lucky. We don't sell CDs, insurance, or anything else. We just provide a great mortgage experience. Isn't that what you're looking for? Call us at Baker Mortgage. I promise you'll be glad you did. We're at 281-313-MOVE or go directly to bakermortgage.com.
Equal housing lender. License number 263213.
Hi, I'm Tommy Mello with Garage Door Doctors. My mom recently moved into a new home with a builder-grade garage door. Noisy, flimsy, and not built to last, so we're fixing that. Mom, you're my hero. When I was growing up, she worked 3 jobs just to save our house.
And helped you build this company.
Now I'm giving her a beautiful new garage door that's built to last. The garage is 40% of your home's curb appeal. When it looks good and it works great.
Life is good. Thanks, Tommy.
From repairs to upgrades, call Garage Door Doctor today.
This is Kevin O'Hara with O'Hara & Company Real Estate. Our country's founding fathers drafted a document that is the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. To secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their powers from the consent of the governed. My friends at O'Hara & Company Real Estate, we believe we're at a precipice in time where we must take back our country. We must stand up for our freedoms or lose them forever. Please don't sit idle and let it slip away. Don't let anyone force you to do something you choose not to. As JFK said, if not us, who? If not now, when? If you're looking to buy or sell real estate, give O'Hara & Company Real Estate a call at 281-373-3393, 281-373-3393, or look us up on the web at o'harare.com. I'm Kevin O'Hara. God bless America, and God bless Texas.
This is the Craig Collins Show, KSEV, KGBC, the voice of Texas. I'm going to do something I shouldn't do at the start of this. My wife, who I think is listening to the radio right now, just asked me if I ate chicken nuggets this afternoon before I came into work. The answer is yes, Betty. This is just for you, not for any of the radio people listening. So everybody else ignore it. I think you might have wanted to make chicken nuggets for dinner. I consumed them for lunch. That did happen. And then I came in to her. I actually had them at like 10 o'clock in the morning, which I shouldn't admit, but I was sick of cereal and I decided to go another road. Anyway, Craig Collins Show, KSEV, KGBC, the voice of Texas. A United plane wheel struck a light pole. This was on the Jersey Turnpike, and I guess it caused the wheel to crash into a bakery truck. The guy who's in the truck's alive. It's a crazy video and actually some crazy audio that I'll play. But there's a part of the turnpike in New Jersey that planes have to get way too close to when they're landing. That really for a while has seemed like someone was inevitably going to do this. And now it's actually happened and it's terrible. But everybody's okay, which is also amazing. I think the way they described the driver is that he had a few scratches. His car was destroyed, but he's going to make a full recovery. But here's the audio of the bakery driver who's talking to himself as a wheel from a plane destroys his car. He just so happened to be recording it. Wow! I think that's all he said. Some version of that, and you might not have even heard it very much, as his car is getting flipped and destroyed, and a wheel from a plane is doing the destroying after it hit a light pole. Again, this is on the turnpike in New Jersey. Not good. This is something you should probably fix. If you live in a liberal state, you might also occasionally get hit by a plane. That might be a thing that happens. I don't know. Another story I saw that's just silly, a part of the quick 4-ish topic. Does your back ache when you sit for a long time on a plane? This TikTok person, this pain expert who has no medical degree whatsoever, claims that they know how to fix this. Let's all be the judge of the advice they give.
Gearing up for a long road trip or flight? Here's why you should always bring 2 tennis balls with you. A personal trainer shared her favorite tip for avoiding back pain on these long-haul journeys. First, take 2 tennis balls and put them in a sock. Then, take that sock, put it in the middle of your back. Next, she says to dig in, which helps to break loose the middle of your back, which gets super tight as you're stuck sitting on a long trip.
Yeah, you want to dig into the tennis balls that you're sitting on top of or sitting in a way that helps your back. I'm not doing this. I don't think I want to explain this to anybody. Even if it did actually work. I don't want the tennis balls in the sock. I don't want to have to be asked a question about it. I don't want to do that thing, especially if it's just the missus sitting next to me, or if more likely it's other people that are sitting next to me on some side of the plane, if it's one of those 3-seaters, because I don't fly first class. My wife and I don't do that. So there's going to be a stranger, and I'm going to be sitting on a sock with tennis balls in it, I don't want to have that conversation. Plus, this person is also likely very much not an expert in this thing that they're talking about. Let's do a couple other ones. An artist held a funeral for a, quote, long-closed Taco Bell. This was in Seattle, I think. The Taco Bell closed in 1991. Brittany, who got some other people involved in this, decided that she wanted to have a funeral for a Taco Bell that I think she remembered as a kid. There were bagpipes. There was a crying contest. It went viral because probably the design behind this the entire time was just for clicks, just to go viral. But I am amused at the idea. I can't help it. She did a thing probably for exactly the reason that now I'm talking about it, and yet it still made me laugh. It still amused me that we all remember a place that shut down when we were kids that no longer is something you can go to, and it makes you sad every time you think of it. Granted, you probably don't think of it a lot, so I'm sure other people would like to hold other quote-unquote funerals for things they remember from their own childhood. Here we go.
This is going to happen, this Taco Bell funeral. I'm pumped. I mean, this is like in April. I'm like, oh my God. Then I get a text saying, hey, would you want to be one of the pallbearers? I was like, it's happening. It's happening. I had the honor of being one of the pallbearers yesterday, which I didn't know exactly what that meant, right? Because we have no casket. We have, like, how is this going to work? It's a headstone. It is a full-on tombstone, probably of granite. And so we needed like 10 people to lift this up and walk it down to be in front of this closed Taco Bell.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I think there's a lot of things that we could say were sad or no longer around, that they don't exist anymore. A lot of life experience stuff that doesn't exist, television that's not the same, movies that aren't the same. You could literally hold a funeral every day for a thing you miss that used to exist in the world. One of these conversations I was having with a friend of mine who has kids is how different childhood is now compared to what it used to be. Someone was saying to me that they remember the day when we as kids all would just go outside. That's all you did the whole time. And then eventually you had to go inside to eat food. But the exact hours of that, they varied all the time. There was not a set, I think when the sun went down, you had to be home. And kids today have no semblance of that thing. They have cell phones in their pockets. If they leave the house, which they probably don't, there's a bunch of reasons that this is terrible, if I'm being honest. But I just thought that was pretty funny that someone said to me that I remember this and I watch my own kids. This person's a parent, as I said a second ago, and how little they do the thing that I think they should be doing. And I had a solution, by the way, and I'll tell you, the radio audience, my idea, and you can decide if it's good or bad on your own and if you want to implement it. If you have kids and you want to do it, take all the stuff away. Don't tell them it's a punishment. Tell them that this is actually the exact opposite of a punishment. But take away all the technology. Turn it all off. Break your internet on purpose by making it inoperable for a while and see what they do. Let it go for a few hours. Maybe ask some friends in the neighborhood to do this to their children as well, so no one has any devices. Although, of course, you and they would probably still try to keep some access to something for yourself because even adults now can't really get away from technology anymore. But I would love to see it if like a whole neighborhood did this as a group, where like all the parents got together and said, we're gonna break the internet on a Saturday and see if all of our kids wind up outside, because I think they would. I think inevitably kids would do the thing that we all did when we didn't have the easier entertainment options, and it was better, again, for everybody involved. So that's, I guess, my advice to parents out there. Lie to your children, but do it in a way that benefits them, I think, is what I'm saying. I'm pretty sure this is what I'm saying. All right, one last one for silly stuff, and then we'll close in a little bit more news. A man used lasers to make, quote, the world's thinnest car. This guy's out of Tennessee. I don't know why he wanted to do this. His name is Tyler. He was talking about his 20-inch wide car. It's an orange Ford Fiesta. There's a bunch of pictures of it online with him driving it, which people have said is pretty hilarious. This is you messing stuff up in your life, creating things that aren't actually good, because all parents lie to their kids. I'm aware. My mother just texted me that. That's hilarious that my mom would be like, we all lie. You got lied to all the time as a child. I know. I'm aware. But I mean, do it in an extravagant fashion, which probably parents do too. And what I mean by that is everybody at the same time tell the same lie to all the kids in the neighborhood that they can't get on the internet and see what happens. I was being specific Ma about the lie I was suggesting the parents tell. Maybe I didn't make it sound obvious enough. But anyway, back to this. The last one. A guy created a 20-inch wide car that is uniquely dangerous and stupid to drive and to destroy something that had more value before. And he did it for internet fame, and it worked, and I'm going to play some audio and talk about it now. The guy's name is Tyler. This is the world we actually live in. These are the things that actually motivate people to do stuff. You don't go outside and play on your bikes until the sun goes down. You destroy a car. This is not a child doing this. This is an adult. You destroy a car so that the internet likes you more when you drive a ridiculous thing instead. If this audio actually plays. I'm not sure if this audio is going to play. This audio is supposed to play. I don't know what happened. We might have totally lost the internet entirely right now, which probably also means if the internet is down, everything on the live stream is down. I'm guessing that might be true, which then means I'm all by myself doing the last part of the show. Can't play any audio for you. Can't do anything else for you. It's just me and the radio show and no internet. That appears to be the case. I'm not entirely sure if it is. Yeah, I know you can still hear me, probably. I don't know if you can still see me, but it's good if you can hear me because YouTube. Okay, everything is still working there. It seems like just some of the internet broke here where I am, but I think I might have got it to fix. I might have got back to it. That was funny. That was an odd thing because I started to think of all the ways that right now at this radio station I am currently using the internet when my own computer told me that it was down, and that seemed like that was going to be bad. But nonetheless, it'll be fine. I'm a professional talker. I would have talked to you for 9 minutes about whatever I felt like talking about if the internet ever completely crashed. But anyway, let's play the audio that I was setting up of the guy with the tiny car.
I built the thinnest street-legal car, and it is an absolute blast to drive around town. We're going to take the old Ford, cut it in half with a laser, get everything working again, and take it on its first cruise downtown.
I got to be honest, I love the way that people like edit videos now and show you just little pieces of the changing of something or all the hard work they did, and then the banging noises that had to be in this.
Around town. We're going to take the old Ford, cut it in half with a laser.
Okay, I got it.
Everything working again, and take it on its first cruise downtown.
Yeah, and thank you to all the people who are texting me and sending me social media videos or social media things saying that the live stream is working. That's nice of all of you. I wouldn't have known when my internet seemed like it wasn't working in front of me. But anyway, yeah, this Tennessee guy destroyed his car. He did it for the clicks. He did it for the likes. He did it for all that stuff. And he's happy with himself now. My other reaction to this, the other thing that I thought was important, just get a motorcycle. If you want a really thin, tiny vehicle that's awesome to drive, I had a Triumph Bonneville for several years while I was living in Chicago. I wish I had had that bike while I was living in a place like Texas because it would have been way more fun than a terrible place like Chicago, both politically and then, honestly, the weather of that state made it terrible. And I drove that bike as long as I could. I would drive that bike into like December, occasionally recklessly, and not because I was doing anything stupid. I wasn't drinking and driving or something like that. There was some snow on the ground, and a motorcycle does not have the traction it needs, but yet I made it. I made it all the places I was going because it was my only vehicle. I couldn't afford another one. I didn't have the motorcycle as a recreational vehicle. I remember actually, I'll tell you this, and maybe we won't get back to any serious stuff. We only have a few minutes left. When I first met my wife, and there were several guys flirting with her at a blues fest, and I think everybody believes that I won because I drove a motorcycle. I think I won for other reasons. I think the missus would say I won for other reasons, but I was the only guy with a motorcycle there. I think that even my wife thought, wow, Craig must be so rich because he has this casual recreational vehicle that is not his everyday get around the city car. And that wasn't true. And especially in a place like Chicago, unlike here in Houston, they have a better transit system. So you could ride the train for a few months and then mostly have a bike. But I'm so jealous of everybody here with a motorcycle. And I don't know. I'll say one last thing about this topic, which you may or may not care about, but I guess we're here now, so we're going to do it. I don't know what it is that's like out there trying to discourage me from getting a motorcycle, other than my actual wife that keeps telling me that she'd divorce me if I get one again, because the one I had eventually got in an accident that was not my fault, and I may have miraculously survived, which I can probably tell that story since I've teased it. But I'll say this first. I keep seeing like videos on social media of motorcycles that get in accidents. The people survive because I don't think it'd be appropriate to put a lot of those, or those videos would probably get taken down if something worse happens. But right when I'm thinking about how awesome it would be to get a bike again, I'm seeing all these videos that discourage me from doing it. All right. I only have a few minutes left. I'm not going to get back to the news today. I promise we'll do that again when the show comes back tomorrow at 6 o'clock to 7, right here on KSEV KGBC. I miraculously survived a motorcycle crash, and I want to talk about it quickly in just a few minutes. And I want you, the audience members on social media or somewhere, to tell me if this means that I deserve to buy a bike again. Because for years now in my relationship, it has been years, my wife has told me that this meant God decided to help me, he decided to save me, and at the same time tell me that I should never get a bike again, like obviously demonstrate to me the danger of it. I go the other way. I go the I might be Spider-Man, I might be invincible road, and assume that my ability to prevent myself from being harmed in one accident means I could do it again. But what happened? I had just gone through a stoplight in a busy intersection in a city in Chicago, and these two young women came through the stoplight after me. Now, granted, in front of me, somebody was turning, so I had to stop because the person was turning into a parking garage. The young ladies didn't seem to be paying attention, or something else might have been going on, but they barreled right through the light and right through me. And anybody who's ever driven a motorcycle knows that if you're sitting, like my motorcycle was fully stopped, and a car hits it, it's going to be bad 99 out of 100 times. This time it wasn't, and I don't know why, but just as they were about to crash through my bike, and they actually fully destroyed it. It flipped. It was broken in a lot of ways that I never thought I would ever see this motorcycle get broken, and it tumbled and whatever. But as I saw them barreling toward me at a speed way too fast since I was stopped, I just instinctively pushed up off of my pegs, the pegs that you put your feet on when you're driving a motorcycle. And as they hit my bike, it pushed me up in the air and forward. And this is a real story. I'm not lying about any of this. Pushed me forward just enough so that as the car came to a screeching halt, I landed in front of it on my feet. So the motorcycle got shot out from under me and destroyed. I floated in the air like Michael Jordan in the mid-90s, and then I landed on my feet and turned back to the car that was screeching to a halt. It looked like a movie. I wish there was a video of this. This was several years ago, so I guess nobody was doing the video stuff that they do now. But honestly, if someone had captured this moment, or I probably had thought to go and get somebody's security camera from one of the businesses in the intersection, it would be one of the most amazing things. I'd have a viral video. I'd put it up on social media and have 1 million views because I just floated in the air and landed on my feet. And so again, I remember I had to work that night at the radio station I was working at. So I had the tow truck drive me. They happened to be a fan of the show that I worked on, which was kind of cool. So I'll drive you to WGN. That'll be great. They drove me to the station. They dropped me off. They took my bike. It was total loss. The two ladies did give me their insurance. So they paid for it. Everything worked out fine. And I got a decent check when I was still in my 20s. And I remember going home and telling the missus, this means I buy another bike. This means I use every penny of this money to have another amazing motorcycle because I can't be killed on one. I think I did actually utter those words that I think I am immune to harm in this situation because no matter what, I did something that I think I could never recreate and do again. The missus has never gone with that argument. She's continued to tell me that I'm lucky and that I should see it as luck and that I should never buy a motorcycle again. So you guys tell me. I'm out of time on the show, but at Radio Craig C, if you want to go to any of my social media pages. My Facebook has a couple thousand people on it. My Twitter only has 500. I would love to have more there. But anywhere, or KSEV Radio social media pages, just tell me if you think my miraculous survival from what should have been a pretty bad accident when I owned a bike means that I deserve to own one again and should own one forever, because that's what I thought it meant, and the missus did not agree.
You're listening to the Voice of Texas.
See you later, everybody.
AM 700 KSEV Tomball and AM 1540 K.